Hello, guys. I was going to do our usual intro, but honestly, fuck the intro because I'm so excited to be back.
Let's send it.
Let's send it. Oh my gosh. It has been a hot minute, and I think it would be rude if we didn't do a little bit of a life update because we have been fucking MIA.
Things have been going on. A lot has happened. We need to get you up to date.
I don't even know where to start. When was the last time we recorded an episode? Actually, I know where to start. I'm just about to cut you off. We're already back on our dumb bullshit again, aren't we?
Bullshit. I've missed our bullshit.
No, same. But before we start, you guys will notice, well, you won't if you're listening to this in your AirPods, that we have had a facelift. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, you need to head on over to our YouTube channel because that is our new exciting announcement. We now have a YouTube channel, a TikTok. We've had a facelift. We're in a new space, new environment. Same vibes.
We've essentially decided to level up and also to send it. And the thing that I love about YouTube is you can watch the full length episode with us and you can see long form content. You can kind of get to watch it alongside us. And I think it's a really good addition to the podcast.
And I also just feel like you get to be a part of our friendship. Like you're literally just pulling up a chair at the table.
You're having a chat. You're one of us. 100%.
You're sitting with us, chilling out. I love it. So that's probably the biggest thing that we're announcing for the podcast at the moment. We've got a lot of other things planned.
Yeah.
But give us a life update, Gem.
Oh, what have we done? I casually went to New Zealand and climbed a mountain with 13 strangers on a TV show. So that's a pretty big deal.
You did.
So much happened around that as well. So many cool opportunities that I've been a part of. And it was awesome. It was a lot to take in, but so grateful for the people that I met and the experience. Absolutely insane.
Insane. And me watching you on TV, I was like, holy fucking shit, go bestie.
You gave me proud mum vibes.
I was like
best.
Stage mum. Like think of Mean Girls when she's got the camcorder and she's like dancing in the aisle. That was me while you were on TV.
I was so grateful for you and my close friends like coming to, watch parties and things like that, and also getting the contestants together and, my friends to watch the last episode. That was so nice. But such a cool experience, and I'm really happy for putting myself out there. I've never travelled to New Zealand before. I really just fully submitted to the fact that I didn't know what I was really going to get into, and I'm so glad I did it.
And honestly, what a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah.
That's so fucking cool. And now I can stop lying to everyone when they ask me where you are.
Yeah. I was like, I'm in Bali, I'm taking a break from social media. But also in terms of, once in a lifetime opportunity, I'm fully in the mindset that you just have to say yes to stuff because things like that are not always going to come around, and I want the experience, I want the memory, and I just want to give things a shot.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to gain from doing that.
100%. So many things are happening, and I'm so excited to see where this takes you because it's going to be fucking sick.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alrighty. That was the only news. I have no news. I've just been in Melbourne doing my thing.
You're 100% doing things.
Yeah, but I'm not fucking climbing a mountain things. You know what I mean? Or being on TV or anything like that. I am moving to Bali for a month, which is super exciting. So
Casually.
I leave in 3 weeks, same time roughly that you go to Europe.
And then we're going back again.
And then we're going back to Bali in October.
Yeah.
All the things are happening.
Yeah.
But I guess that brings us to what we're talking about today. And I think we need to do a tiny little trigger warning because it is going to be probably an emotionally heavy podcast.
Yeah.
And we are going to be talking about grief and loss. So if that's something that's a little bit sensitive to you, definitely don't listen on to the rest of this podcast.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be talking about, this is very much an episode about you, Gem, and I'm really excited about it.
Can we do next one about you?
Boring.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a really good episode because I feel like this is something that you don't speak about very often.
Yeah.
And granted, it's a very hard topic to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think that this is part of your journey in... I'm already getting emotional about it. Oh my God, fucking cancel.
I'm actually going to cry.
See ya. All you guys are going to hear in your ears is literally me just being like, I want to go home. This is too sad. But I think that this is a huge part of who you are as a person, and what you've been through in life is really quite hard, but really fucking awesome the way that you've come out of it.
Yeah.
And that you've just taken life by the balls.
Yeah, I think I just assume... when you get in a bubble and you've experienced something, for example, you just assume everybody knows.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have that assumption.
Yeah.
And then when people have asked me about, my dad or certain things and I've been quite sensitive to them, I've been like, oh, I haven't actually explained to people that whole experience and
Yeah.
kind of how that shaped me to who I am today, because there's attributes of what I experienced that definitely helped me make the decisions that I make today and how I want to live my life.
And also made you climb a mountain.
Yeah, I honestly maybe
And-
climb a mountain, maybe skydive recently, like
Start your own business.
start my own business, all of that.
And really just take opportunities in your stride.
Yeah, and relationships, tell people that I love them. Really, like, I have so much love for my friends, and I cherish the relationships that I have, and I hold them even more close now than I think I ever did.
Yeah. So maybe explain what has happened.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to explain
Yeah.
actually. Essentially, my dad, I'm an only child, so I was really close with my dad, and he always did FIFO, was always traveling around and working, and I was always on track of his schedule, like when he's coming home and so forth. And this particular time, I had just finished, I quit my corporate job and I was going to launch my coaching business or PT in the new year in like January. So I had this whole plan and this whole trajectory of how I thought the year was going to go. This is in 2018. Anyway, my dad randomly texted me and just said, like, I'm actually flying home. I think it was in like 2 or 3 days' time, which was quite strange. And he was pretty vague. So I picked him up from the station or the airport, and he essentially said I had a scan and there was something on my lung, and I'm just going to see what that means. I've got an appointment. So that was just a lot of new things happening,
Yeah.
a lot of uncertainty. And then we went to that appointment, which I think was at Peter Mac in the city. And essentially when
was
we...
this an oncologist appointment?
oncologist
Or-
appointment.
okay,
But I honestly, it's like I'm
Had no
flying
idea.
home, we're going to an appointment. That was the extent that I knew. And I was always, even though I was a bit sus because of the timeline of that, I was just like, unless you hear something bad,
never
you're
just
not
gonna
going to think
assume.
about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And why would you think that the worst case scenario could
Absolutely.
be something that's happening right now?
absolutely. And my dad was such just a positive, like, get shit done kind of man.
Yeah.
So he was playing this down as well. So we went to that appointment, and essentially really quickly the oncologist or the doctor who saw us pretty much said, they drew a graph and they said, this is today's date, this is a 12-month timeline, and pretty much as they were drawing the graph, it was going down, 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 down. So basically saying that your likelihood for lasting further than 12 months is very unlikely. You're terminally ill, you have lung cancer. And
Wow.
I was in complete shock, and my dad, who kind of had like a hard exterior, he started crying, and
Yeah.
then we essentially drove home just trying to like take in what had just happened.
So in that moment,
Yeah.
I want to ask a question,
Yeah.
obviously. And obviously if I ask any questions that you're like, we're not answering
This
it,
is
just say it.
I'm sending it on this podcast. yeah.
I want to ask, in that moment, sitting in that office with the oncologist, finding out that news,
Yeah.
what was your first thought?
Honestly, the first thought was just pure shock and just trying to take in that news. And then the second thought was, how is he taking that news?
Yeah.
And then the last thing was, what can I do with him before he goes?
Yeah.
Like, what experiences can we fit into this? Because when it's just so apparent, nothing else matters. Like, all that matters is like the time you have left, what you can do together, trying to stay positive. So I kind of just went into, I don't know if I'd call it fight or flight, but I
Yeah.
definitely put on an exterior that like, we're handling this together.
Yeah.
And every following appointment that we went to together, he would refer to me to all of the doctors as like, Gemma's my rock, like we're coming to these, like she's kind of helping me through this. And like I took on that role as being like the strong one that was handling it, even though I was obviously struggling with what was happening, but I wanted to put on the front that like, we can do this, we're going to be positive, like is there any other treatment options? I tried to go down that route before just accepting essentially the fate that we don't have long left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's a lot. So how old were you at this time?
I'm so bad with numbers.
This is like 5
26?
years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
around 26, yeah.
Wow. So then can you kind of paint a picture of what happened from the diagnosis to when he did pass away?
Yeah, so I don't want to get the timeline too wrong, but my memory is essentially, so we drove home, we were both driving home crying, and then we kind of were in a bit of, well, shock of course, but also we weren't just going to accept that. He was
Yeah.
looking at every single thing he could do, treatment options, different retreats.
Very
he was just
similar to
100%.
you.
He actually was like looking at retreats, treatment options, changing of diet, all of this
Yeah.
stuff. So that's kind of where we were leading. The thing that I liked about that, even though it's hard because you do need to accept the reality of the situation,
Yeah.
I did think that putting attention and focus on at least looking after yourself as well as
Yeah.
possible, that's never going to be a negative.
And also being a little bit more positive. I
100%.
can only assume in a situation
Yeah.
like that is going to help you a little bit in the mindset of things.
100%.
Yeah.
So he had such a strong mindset. He definitely, I don't believe.
Again, very similar to you.
So very strong mindset. We both just kind of powered through the following few months. So as I said at the start of this episode, my goal was start my business and then kind of go down that route. But I kind of changed my trajectory a bit around that time because I was like, this isn't the right time to start a business and I want to be able to care and take my dad to appointments.
Yeah.
So I kind of stopped what I was doing a bit and decided to run classes because I could clock in, clock out, get my really,
Minimal
get a lot of
stress.
experience
Yeah.
and then I don't have to I can take on whatever hours I want. So that's kind of what I did with that time, which was a good outlet for me. But essentially those following few months just looked like driving to the hospital to have chemo.
Yeah.
He tried a lot of different treatment options. So some of them were, new treatment options. Like he was pretty much trying everything that they would allow him to try.
Yeah.
So chemo is really rough on your body. A lot of those times when we're at home and between then, it's just kind of managing those symptoms. And other than that, we tried to plan a road trip. We tried to do other fun things at home while also managing being quite sick. And for the first, I'd say like 3 months or so, spirits were really high as much as they could be.
Yeah.
So we'd go to chemo and I would sit with him and then we would do that together and then drive home. There was a lot of kind of breaking down and sadness in between that, but for the most part, we stayed as positive as possible. And then I think there was a few positive appointments. So we'd go to an appointment and they'd be like, there's actually a reduction in cancer. That happened once.
Yeah,
And
wow.
that's why I have a thumbs up on my foot.
Yeah.
Because from that appointment, my dad was like, send a thumbs up to my family,
Oh,
which is a lot.
yeah.
Sorry.
The tears are starting. I knew that we would be
100%.
crying on this podcast.
But I think it's important to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And honestly, Gem, like speaking about this, it's like you have so much strength and I'm going to cry now. Oh my God. Guys, I said that this podcast would just be tears. But you do have so much strength being able to actually have this conversation. Your dad will be so fucking proud.
100%. And like I have, such a good memory of my dad. My dad was an absolute legend.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have so much from him
Yeah.
that I'm thankful for. But anyway, so pretty rapidly, then he just started to decline within like a 6 to 8 week window, I'd imagine.
Wow.
And then we kind of looked at palliative care. So we had someone come into our house and talk about moving into palliative care.
And
We
was that going to be in a hospital setting or
Yeah.
at home?
We looked at both options.
Yeah.
I also noticed that he started reading a book about kind of accepting that you're coming to the end, which
yeah.
even though that's hard to think about, I did.
It probably helped
I
him.
wanted him to at least do what he felt like tying off all of the loose ends, feeling like he was happy with how he was leaving things. And he did start to speak more positively about
Yeah.
being happy with the life that he's lived. And he had so much love towards me. And I
Yeah.
felt like we had a lot we were really grateful for. Anyway, and then, we got a ramp installed in home and we kind of prepared for like declining. And then within a week, he had passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it was very rapid.
Yeah, it was really rapid,
So
and I've never experienced anything like this. So maybe if you're a
No.
nurse listening or someone listening, you might be like, that's to be expected.
Yeah.
But the whole time, I had no idea really of what that decline or timeline was going to look like. So that was really hard, like just deteriorating. Like he got told he wasn't allowed to drive anymore. The next minute, no more driving. And then we wanted to travel and do some trips. And then it was like, that's not allowed anymore. But you just really don't know until you go through
and
something
I think
like
as
that.
well, I mean, I've never been in that experience before, but I can imagine you being in that moment.
Yeah.
You're trying to be positive. You're trying to not look at the negative things that are
Yeah.
happening. And like you said, if you're not a nurse and you've never been around that before, how are you to know that
Really
it
don't
was
know.
going to happen so fast?
Yeah.
So from the time that he was diagnosed to the time that he passed, how long is this time frame roughly?
roughly 7 to 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, as I said at the very start, like, it was, I'm coming home to Melbourne, and then it was, you're going into this appointment, and then it was, bam, we're starting chemo next week, and then it was that rapid decline. So I put on this exterior of just, like, let's just do what we can, like, positive and all of that. And the only thing that I kind of really struggled with was, because there's so much uncertainty with the sickness, you just really don't have a grasp of how much time you truly have left.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to grasp, because I had this guilt afterwards where I was like, why the fuck did I work at all? Like, I should have just spent every single moment doing stuff. And that really got to me. But then at the end of the day, like, there's an unlimited amount of things we could do together. We knew that we loved each other. We had so many good memories together. Like, that is enough. But I think that's probably a feeling that a lot of people would have when someone passes. Suddenly, did I do enough? Did I do enough? Why didn't I spend more time? Why didn't I get off my fucking phone? Like, those kinds of things I thought about afterwards. But I had to just cut myself a break, because I was just trying to cope.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So I have a question about grief, I guess. What has been your grieving process, or the journey that you had with grief? Because I know, like, I've had a couple of people in my life pass away that were quite close to me.
Yeah.
But grief looks different for everyone. So I want to know, how did you kind of cope with that after his passing?
I definitely think that when he passed, I had a good relationship with oncologists and doctors and all of that, and they kind of gave me resources for grief counselling.
Yeah.
I probably should have done more of that, I believe, and I probably will still do that in the future, because I looked at all of that. But I also helped plan his funeral, and I did a speech to his funeral and a lot of other things that go on with someone passing away. So I think that I just was distracted.
Yeah.
But the things that I think, so with grief for me, it's still a highly sensitive topic.
Yeah.
So you kind of go through this period where shortly after, everyone's kind of consoling you, and they kind of don't know how to react around you, because they don't know how to treat you right. And I had so much love and support. And then the feeling that you have, it's not like, as time goes on, in a linear fashion, that your grief or sadness just declines.
Yeah.
It actually feels to me like it's heightened at different times, and it's still so raw. So it doesn't matter if it happened, 4 or 5 years ago. It's still something that I have such a vivid memory and experience of, that it goes up and down. So like, funny things of, like, there was this like cute old man at the gym the other day that looked like my dad, and I was just like, so cute. And he was like training with his daughter, and I was like, that's so nice. And like, things like that I look at in like a happy light, but also just like a sadness. It's just like, it's really sporadic that can happen in that fashion.
And is it almost like random things will remind you of him or trigger you, and you'll be emotional about something that you wouldn't really think that you would be necessarily emotional about?
Absolutely. So one thing in particular that I did not think was going to set me off was before he passed away, we kind of were talking about different like walks would do, and there was this particular walk in the Dandenongs that's got statues. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, when you drive home, you see the sign for this walk, and we were like, we really want to go there. We'd wanted to go there forever. Anyways, when he passed away, and I was driving home one day, I saw that sign, and I was just like, I didn't get to take him, and it really upset me, and I didn't think that it was going to upset me so much. But over time, and speaking to other people has helped, I think, as well as processing just, what that whole year was like for me. Talking to people if I am struggling or feeling extra sensitive really helps, like trying not to just bottle it up. So if something does trigger me, like I'll tell Ben or I'll tell you, and I'd be like, I'm feeling kind of sad about this. And then if I thought it was really, really bad, I would go and talk to a psychologist. So that's pretty much how grief has felt to me. So the takeaways being, it's not linear. It doesn't just go away with time. It still feels very raw.
And also give yourself maybe the space to feel those emotions.
Yeah, it's normal.
And have people that you can go to speak about when you're not feeling so good, or when something has really upset you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for being so open about that. I knew there was going to be so many tears in that moment.
100%.
Now, I want to know.
Yeah.
From your dad's passing.
Yeah.
What are the things that, what has death kind of taught you about living?
I would say that death has taught me that life is short, and you never know like tomorrow's never promised.
Yeah.
So one, tell people you love them and create meaningful relationships. Don't fuck around with half-assed relationships. I only want genuine people in my life, and I don't have time for much else.
Yeah.
Because again, time is limited, time is precious. 2, experiences, putting things off, obviously within reason. We all have jobs, we all have to, make an income, but don't continue to put things off at the expense of just grinding away. So something that
Don't forget to live life.
Don't forget to live life.
Yeah.
Something that I know that my dad had this realization of, which also has stuck with me, is when he passed away, he wanted to join the gym as soon as he got sick. So that really stuck with me because we had a few bits of gym equipment at home, and when he was sick at the start, he wasn't too sick to do things. He was trying to train, he was trying to do stuff. And as an observer looking in, it made me really sad because that is such a reactive response to something.
Yes, yeah.
I want to train and I want to look after myself now, and I want to cherish that and think about that as such a gift. So doing things now and not putting them off, training and your health are everything.
Yeah.
The other thing I took away from that is he wanted to do a road trip with me. He started to plan a road trip. We had a massive printout of Australia. I still ended up doing this after he passed, but massive printout of Australia, and it's kind of like such a hard worker, such a absolutely amazing at what he did, but he kind of missed out on doing that road trip, which made me really sad because it was something that he wanted to do. There was a few other little travel-y things. So he still fit a lot into his life, but something that stuck with me was the fact that he didn't get to do that. So for me, I want to work and I want to strive for my business goals, but I also am going to make sure that I fit in travel and life experiences, and I'm going to say yes to things. So the biggest thing that this whole experience kind of stuck with me is the valuing my friendships, telling people that I love them, saying yes to opportunities, and really just going for it, because I don't want to look back in my life and think about what I could have done. And also, we never know how long we have left. And I don't want to get too dark on that, but
it's true.
It is true. So I really just don't want to say, when I'm retired, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. No, I'm going to do things now, and I'm going to live a full life, especially in his honour, and I'm going to do things that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I agree. And look at what you've done. I mean, in the last 6 months alone has been insane.
Yeah.
Like, literally insane. Who the fuck goes on a TV show, climbs a mountain,
pretty good,
skydives, starts a business, runs a podcast?
There's still so much I want to do though. But of course,
I know. You've got time.
I know.
You've got time.
I know.
And you're going to Europe?
Yeah.
I
have so many things I want to do. I'm going to Europe, just in case you're wondering, in 44 days.
I feel like you've also been doing a lot of travelling lately, because that was not something that you had put high on your priority list for a long time.
Yeah.
But now you're like, Bali, Europe, New Zealand, anywhere that you can go, you're ready.
And I'm building a life around the ability to have those life experiences.
Yeah.
We both have our own businesses, and something that is so important and why my business is so focused on, being able to work online as well, is because I want the freedom to be able to help as many people as possible, travel, and have that lifestyle where I can see friends and
live your life.
And live my life. That is really important to me. So I don't just want to grind away in a corporate job like I used to just for the sake of earning XYZ. It's just not anything that appeals to me at all. So that's another big one.
And do you think, maybe the last question to wrap this podcast up, do you think that you moving into having more of a freedom-based life was driven by seeing what happened to your dad and your dad's passing? I know you said that you quit your corporate job before that.
Yeah.
But where you are now in your life, and you taking life by the balls and taking every opportunity that comes your way, is that really driven by what happened?
I definitely would say that I am a bigger risk taker in terms of, I'll of course calculate what could go wrong, but I'm more so just like,
fuck it.
Just go for it.
Send it.
I think I send it more with things unknown situations. I'm just like, I can handle this. I feel like I can handle it, or I'm going to learn something from it. So I would definitely say that I feel like I feel more equipped to take risks. I also feel like, what is there to lose? And I also just want to go harder on the things that are important to me. So from that experience, I think maybe before I would have been a little bit more reserved or a bit stressed about decision making, but now I'm like, let's fucking go.
Yeah. I love that. You are just so fucking determined, and I love being a part of it. Thank you so much for speaking so openly about that.
Thank you.
I feel like there's going to be so many people who listen to this episode resonating with so much that you said.
Thank you.
As well as you being a little bit more vulnerable. I think it's really cool.
I think you've said this to me as well, and in my head, I think I just assume people know certain things about me, but I probably am just so focused on what I'm doing that I don't let this part always be known.
Yeah.
But I do love talking about it because it is an experience that I hope, one, it motivates me, but I hope that those little takeaways in terms of valuing your health, in terms of going for things that are important to you, and changing your career trajectory if that's going to really align with what's important to you, like we have. I hope that those nuggets that, you know, drive me every day can also drive you.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, thanks, Gem. You are literally the most I'm
struggling with the heat.
I know, sorry, but you need to just hear me out for a second, because I wish that everyone got a Gemma in their life, really. Like, if you guys are listening and you're wanting to form a friendship, not with Gemma because she's my friend, no kidding, but if you guys are
No,
but if you guys are wanting to form friendships with somebody, just do it, because if people have a Gemma in their life, they would be living a fucking happy and blissful life, because you are the most determined, strong woman that I have ever met. No more tears. I love you a lot as well. And I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We're so happy to be back. I know that this episode was a little bit more emotional than what we usually do, but I think that this was something that I'm so happy that you spoke about. I remember the first time you told me this story, and I'd met in you, that's not a word. I had met you twice.
Yeah.
This was the second time we hung out, and I had tears in my eyes.
I think we were crossing the road.
Walking across the street.
Sorry.
And I was like, don't cry in front of her. This is going to be so odd. She's going to think I'm such a weirdo.
No.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy today's podcast, please, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, tag us on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube, like I mentioned at the start of this podcast, TikTok, all the things at Oi Let's Talk.
Thank you again, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.